Hey, Twisted people, it's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted CKR, and I'm joined here by my mama, Karen Robinson. Karen Robinson. Hey y'all. Hey Felix. Hey Vera. Let me just pause myself on the things I got that going on the other end, making sure everything's looking good. Yeah, so we're doing episode 6 and episode 7, which is basically Demon of the Algorithm and Demon of Cults. And oh my gosh, whew, those are some intense episodes. Hey, Sabetti. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry we didn't make it, last week. My schedule gets hectic sometimes, so I am very appreciative of y'all being flexible and still wanting to come hang out with me, even though sometimes the days aren't as consistent as I would like them to be. But decent news on the job front and things like that. I was doing union contract negotiations because I am a journalist. Union, baby, unionize the jobs. So that took a lot of time and stuff like that. And then also getting back in the pace of things with COVID. And I had a little bit of a scare in Vegas. People might have seen on the news, there was a mass shooter scare the time I went to Vegas. When I was there, it turned out it wasn't a mass shooter, but it was someone playing a elaborate prank, throwing firecrackers into the crowds, the very crowded crowds in Vegas. We went there for my boyfriend Michael's birthday week. We go there, each year. And we happened to be eating in Margaritaville when a whole horde of people came in yelling, the S word, shooter, shooter, whatever. Like, I hope YouTube doesn't demonetize me. So that was very scary. And so we jumped off a balcony, Die Hard style. Wasn't a very high balcony, y'all, so I'm not going to act like I jumped off of a building, but it was high enough. I did not stick the landing. I could have, but I didn't stick it. There was a stool right under me, and I fell, hit my head, the whole thing. I was, yeah, the tweet. Yeah, it was I tweeted about it if people want to kind of get the full details. But I just wanted to, I like to keep y'all updated. We all cool. We community. We Twisted family here. So we talk about all types of things. So I wanted to let y'all know about that experience. And I think it also just shows, how crazy and crazed it can be in our society right now with everything going on, that everyone's on edge. So it basically caused mass hysteria that night. And it was, never thought that I'd be ending my Vegas trip being checked out by the EMT for a concussion and my legs hurting and stuff for like a whole week afterwards. And it was very, I called, my mama got the call that night because I didn't want her waking up that morning seeing that on the news and being like, oh my gosh, my daughter's there. So I called her. It was a whole thing, but we are safe, and thank God that it was not an actual. But unfortunately, there were some shootings that happened that same night in other places like Indiana, where potential shooter where Craig Robinson was performing, in some other places. So all we can do is just keep praying for people and hoping they stay safe. And we all stay safe as we can, because some stuff is out of our hands, right? But yes, and that is what evil talks about, free will, danger, things like that, which is probably why I know my mom, she was actually very calm about it once I told her that it was okay, but that I basically, was waiting for the EMT so they could check me out and make sure I didn't have a concussion or anything like that. So never a dull moment, guys. Can I just say that? Because I caught COVID earlier in the month, and then that following week after testing negative, finally went to Vegas and then dealt with that. So I'm okay. And then we had this heat wave. What are they calling the heat wave going on? They named a heat wave for the first time ever. A heat wave was named, and it's named Zoe. They named the heat wave Zoe, y'all. That's what it's called, man. They call the heat wave Zoe.
Zoe?
Yeah. I don't know why they're giving it a name. Maybe because it's so intense. But I'm over that already, too. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm a little tired of, like, once in a lifetime crazy events happening. But I do love the happenings of evil. And shout out to the evil cast that showed up at San Diego Comic-Con to let us know that, y'all, we are getting a season 4 of Evil.
Yay!
Let's give it up. Let's clap for that, y'all. We're getting a season 4, and that's always what I worry about when I'm watching Evil. I worried about it in season 2. Hey Bear, I worried about it in season 2. I worried about it in season 1, of course, because I really enjoyed it. And luckily, we got confirmation. We got confirmation that we are definitely getting a season 4. Yes, they named it for the first time in history. A heat wave was in, because usually they name hurricanes, right? Like Hurricane Katrina,
hurricane,
things like that. But they named a heat wave. We're getting named heat waves now because I guess they are figuring this is going to be a regular occurrence. Shout out to my dad for having to go to the hospital for dehydration on Sunday because of this heat wave. But my mama was on top of it, and he's doing fine, y'all. Like I said, never a dull moment, but we keep it moving. Yeah, so we're getting a season 4, and which is really awesome because I'm not sure how many episodes we're getting in season 3 because we're already on episode 7. Right, so I know season 2 was 10 episodes, wasn't it? Was it 10 episodes or was it 13?
It usually ended in August, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we must be near.
I think we might be getting 12 or so. I hope we get like 12. We're already on episode 7. I don't want to believe we only have like 3 episodes left. I want like 4 episodes. Get 4 episodes. Hey, Thorn. Yeah, I missed y'all too. Like I said, sorry, I'm not always the most consistent because, the job and everything like that. But I appreciate y'all always showing up or catching it and coming to talk with us about, something that we love, which is Evil. So we're getting a season 4. That was announced at Comic-Con, which is really awesome. If those of you who have Paramount Plus and watch the show through that, you can actually catch some clips of the interview talking about the season 4 announcement and actually the Evil panel. It's 22 minutes long, the video. I watched it before the stream as well, where they talk about their characters and stuff like that. No spoilers were really given, them just kind of talking about where they are. So I can talk about that a little bit if anyone's curious what they were talking about it. But you can actually watch that on Paramount Plus under Evil with the video clips and stuff they usually show. You can actually watch that panel. It's about 22 minutes long. So the 2 episodes we got were Demon of the Algorithm and Demon of Cults. So let us know in the chat, y'all, and in the comments for those who are watching the replay. Ma, out of the 2, did you have one you liked better than the other at all, or what was your grade of each one? And let me know y'all thoughts on each one. Which did you like one better than the other? Were they both good for different reasons?
I believe they was both good for different reasons.
Okay.
The one with the Andy in it, that was pretty good. The way how they just shocked me on that one. I was so surprised.
Yeah.
And the one that we just recently saw, that was pretty good too, because certain things I wouldn't have expected and then just come out of nowhere. And I go, oh, okay.
There were definitely a lot of revelations, a lot of turns that happened in both of the episodes for sure. Probably more revelations in the latest episode in Demon of the Cult because of the Andy thing. Kirk, oh my gosh, Kirk, our psychiatrist, and Leland. Yes. And we'll talk about that when we get to it. But there was a lot of things happen. Savetti is saying, I think I like 6 best because of the twist and it answered a question. Yes. I agree with that. Out of the 2 for me, Felix is saying 6 was good because of Andy, 7 good because of Ben's arc. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna say I like 6 because of its relevance. I mean, both were very relevant, but 6 just was such a hit on the nose, right? With the whole thing of social media, because I grapple with social media, y'all, a lot of times. Hey, Josh, how's it going? Happy Thursday. How are you? Miss y'all. Yeah, so I think social media is something that is becoming more and more of a topic that is polarizing. And also, with the revelations we've been hearing about various platforms, we're hearing that TikTok, the company that controls that, I think in China or whatever, has been using that for some time to really do a lot of spying and data gathering on users, probably more in a very intrusive way. And considering that there's usually like 13-year-olds and stuff on TikTok, that's a whole thing. Not to mention that, we've always had data gathering since we found out that whole controversy with Facebook around the presidential elections of 2016 and what they were doing. And then there's the question of the polarization that happens on social media, how people who might normally be willing to talk to each other somehow can turn very violent and get radicalized because they're just in echo chambers around each other and just talking to people who are like-minded. And QAnon and things like that have grown on social media. And then there's, on the micro scale, the end of not just the societal in the sense of groupings, but the whole idea of kind of what this one was talking about too, the clout chasing, the fact that it can be disruptive to people, the idea of being addicted to it. I think we've all maybe had those times where it was very hard to put our phone down, where we had our phone everywhere to the point where it was like a phantom thing. I remember at some point, even if I didn't have my phone on me, like it was in the other room, I'd reach for it like it was next to me, because it was just kind of it's not like I needed anything on it, but it was just kind of a given to reach for my phone and look at it. And that's something I've grappled with. Let me know if y'all have grappled with it, because that's why this particular one, Demon of the Algorithm, I think really hit some really great chords for me in terms of how they tackled the subject. It wasn't a total condemnation of social media necessarily, but it did take what we've been grappling with in our reality, the question of the morals behind it. How beneficial is it to always be plugged in? And when you have like Generation Zers, like before Generation Z, I think every generation, my generation, millennials, my mom's generation, boomers, and then you had Generation X, my brother Damon, and others, and so far, especially for millennials, we were half and half. We had a chunk of our childhood that was not online. You know what I mean? So we got to have that experience of non-virtual interaction and having a little bit more of a base of non-virtual. And now you have Generation Z, where so much is online, where so much of their interaction is online. And we're now finding out, when it comes to the algorithms and stuff, which is a hot topic these days. Sorry if I'm geeking out about this, y'all. One of the parts of my job is to pay attention to social media, is the way that the way that algorithms, because companies like Facebook and others, the way they use them isn't really thinking about how people are taking it in. Now, in Evil, they were talking about possession. But on the real world, what was happening, I actually wrote a whole expose story, a published article that you can check under my article profiles on People's World, dealing with the fact that it was admitted in a study that the algorithm has a tendency to show you things that will get an emotional response out of you. And usually the emotional response is anger or sadness. And so that's what you'll get more often than not. If you even hesitate on it for a second, it'll keep showing you more of that. Now, should you be seeing more angry videos and more videos to make you sad? Probably not for your psyche. But that's what the algorithm does, because the algorithm, as a great quote that we saw in this episode from potentially Ben's new love interest, the girl from Vid Tap, where she says, keeping you engaged, like the algorithm is for keeping you engaged, not making you a better person. And that was so real to me, because that's exactly what social media is. It's about keeping your eyes there so they can eventually sell you something, right? Whether it be some advertisement space or something like that. It's not about whether or not you're mentally healthy at this point, or whether you should still be on there or something like that. That's not his job. But considering how much influence and power it has, shouldn't that be part of what the government does to regulate it, saying, hey, stop stop allowing people to get access to misinformation just because they click on one misinformation article. Stop showing them more misinformation article because you want them to stay on Facebook. Things like that, you know? So that, I just wanted to kind of give a perspective of just how relevant, even though they were talking about Satan and things like that, that this episode truly was in terms of the subject matter they were talking about. So Betty giving my mama a compliment, saying, I'm Generation X, your mom looks too young to be a boomer. She gets that all the time. Actually, she always tells a joke. It's not really a joke because it actually happens. Anytime she gets in the senior citizen line at ShopRite, everyone in the line is looking at her and tries to correct her and be like, oh, this is for senior citizens. And my mom's like, yeah, I know, I'm supposed to be here. And they never believe that she's actually supposed to be in that line. You always have to like try to bring up, she always has to show her ID to be in that line because they never believe that she's supposed to be in that line. It's funny. Yeah, I just think, and for me, like I said, social media is something I grapple with because I think as a society, we tend to be too plugged in to the point where we do lose sense of reality. And I think that's what this episode was showing in a way. So there was a lot of funniness in this episode, I thought, you know, with Ben talking, putting up videos, and then people are like, this is how you deal with COVID. And she puts a thing in her mouth, and I'm like, or there was actually a real challenge that I've actually seen on TikTok when I was on it for the brief second that I was on it, which was the, thanks Josh, that was on the TikTok, which was the creating cotton candy through the heater, through the dryer. Now, I've seen multiple people claim that you can make cotton candy by putting sugar in the dryer and getting cotton candy out of it.
And your dryer is messed up.
Yes, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, why are you putting sugar in your dryer in the first place? But then they claim that it's, you know, and then Ben had to replace it. But I thought what was so funny about that is that that's an actual TikTok trend. I've actually seen a video of someone claiming that they made
I saw that same one. Yeah.
Through sugar. And that's just not possible because, like he explained, your dryer would have to heat so hard for that to happen. But I've seen multiple ones. Or just like when I showed around this other one where people were putting NyQuil on chicken. They were boiling chicken in NyQuil. And it was supposed to be a way to eat chicken, but also kind of feel drowsy like with NyQuil. And this was a trend that people were trying. And I think it also touches on the trend that we saw that has been quite detrimental for people, such as the, I think it's the knockout challenge or something like that, the blackout challenge, which 3 young girls, all under the age of 13, died because they do this thing where they choke themselves till they pass out. And recently, 3 young girls
choke themselves.
Yeah, they try to choke themselves somehow until they pass out. And this was a challenge that was being put on TikTok. And in the recent months, 3 young girls under the age of 13 basically died from trying this challenge. Yes, NyQuil chicken. Look it up. It's a thing, y'all. I kid you not.
Oh my goodness.
I think that's a good way to start a fire. Yes. Thorn is saying, what about the dirt that was already in the dryer? That sounds wild, right? Like, what are you doing? What are we doing? But that's an actual thing where they claim they've made cotton candy. And so, and there's you know, other challenges. The cinnamon challenge, where they tell people to drink dry cinnamon. And one girl actually ended up in the hospital because it messed with her heart so much that she ended up having, I think it was either a heart attack or a stroke, because you're supposed to eat raw cinnamon. You know that's gonna dry you out. That is not safe. You could literally probably choke on the powder. But these are many trends that TikTok in the recent year or so has been under fire for claiming, and their claim is basically, well, we try to watch everything, but we can't get to everything. So it was very interesting watching the team go to BidTap and being like, what's good? Why are you guys letting this trend kind of go? And her giving that response of, well, we're about keeping them watching, not about making them better people. So it just goes to show you, and that is so very much the kind of take with, I think, our current tech culture, where we have to kind of ask ourselves, is this helping anything? Is my time spent on Instagram helping anything? Is my time spent on Twitter? Am I just doom scrolling at this point? Or am I being part of a real collective? Or am I in an echo chamber and everyone's just agreeing with each other, but it's out of touch from reality? But once again, these websites don't care. They just want you on there. But what happens when everyone thinks everyone's being possessed? Which is what happened in this episode. Another thing that happened was the girls outsmarting Leland. We kind of got Leland unhinged a little bit. Like, he got really pissed. What did you think of that, Mom? And let us know in the chat, y'all, what y'all thought about it.
That was really good. They got him good telling about that he's an old man and he lives in the church and all like that. That was, he was going, you know.
I like that they finally got Leland out of the church, because I was wondering how much longer was that gonna go.
The church was going to do that.
Yeah, and I think I brought it up in a previous stream where I was just like, you know, how long are they going to use this shtick where Leland is like thwarting their plans by being present in the church? Like, because I think Monsignor, who I've really come to like Monsignor, the priest that's over our team that sends them out and stuff. I've come to really like his character, and because I think he plays a good neutral ground. Like, he's not really evil. He's not really into the politics of the church. He's just trying to do his job, but he's also trying to watch out for what's good. So I think I don't know if y'all agree or not, but I think Monsignor is solid. And I do find it interesting that he doesn't care for the Friends of the Vatican, which we also need to talk about a little bit, because remember in one of the previous episodes, he told David, he was like, if they come up to you, please let me know. Like, you don't need to get involved in that. So I'd be interested to see why Monsignor is kind of resistant to the Friends of the Vatican, or as David calls them, the entity. And because we're still trying to figure out, is the entity good or bad, which we need to talk about because of what happened in episode 7. But what we had was Leland unhinged, and the girls really got him, and I thought that was really great. They pretty much found out where he was, and it really threw him off. I was surprised that he got thrown off as much as he did, though. I don't know. I feel like he's getting frustrated. Do you get a sense that Leland is starting to get frustrated a little bit with his plans and things like that?
I think so.
And I kind of wonder where that's going, because he basically says it's time to make these little girls orphans, which was interesting to me that he said that in front of Cheryl, because that's her daughter. So it's like, does Cheryl not have a problem with Leland basically wanting to kill their mother, her daughter? Or does she just not think he's capable of doing it? I wonder, and let me know, chat, if y'all agree or not. I feel like Cheryl actually believes that maybe, I think Cheryl believes that she's instilled enough gumption in her daughter that Kristen will probably be okay. So maybe that's why she's not taking Leland seriously in this thing. It's also interesting to me that Leland is trying to kill Kristen. I mean, because I never got that sense that he was trying to kill her initially. I always felt like he was trying to bring her over to the dark side. So do you think that's kind of changed? Because it seems like he wants to, like, off her now. What do you think?
I think he want to off. You know what? I think he do want to offer, because put it this way, if he get rid of her, he can have her daughter.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like in the beginning, it was kind of like they were trying to do a thing where he was just trying to, like, corrupt her. But now it's gone from, I want to kill this woman. I think that's I don't know if it's just his frustration cause. Yeah. I think part of it is that it's frustration. I don't think Leland realized he had a match. You know, I don't think Leland realized that the girls were as strong as they were, and I don't think he realized Kristen was as strong as she is. And I think it's throwing him off, because they've been able to thwart him in so many situations. Cheryl's gonna get Felix. That is a good prediction. Interestingly enough, the actress who plays Cheryl, the wonderful Cheryl, she's a great actress. She actually talked about one of the things she was hoping for eventually is that Cheryl would help to take down Leland, or that Cheryl would take down Leland in some form. She
Yeah.
also talked about she hopes Cheryl somehow gets a redemption arc towards the end or something like that. But we'll see if that's what she wants. I don't know if that's where the show is going, because I mean, what she's doing with Andy, which we'll talk about, is kind of cray.
Yeah,
I don't know how you come back from that, but we'll talk about it. But yeah, I could definitely see that. I could definitely see that. Josh is saying definitely getting frustrated. I definitely think he's getting frustrated. I definitely think a lot of his plans are being thwarted, and he doesn't know what to do about that. Vera is saying, yeah, I was wondering why Cheryl's okay with him having so much contact with the girls. Exactly. And part of me just wonders, like, well, we'll talk about it with episode 7, but it was also revealed what it was kind of put into words finally what's going on with Lexus. And so I think Cheryl might be actually okay with that. So that might be a play on it, but I don't think she'd be okay with Leland trying to kill her daughter. So we'll have to see where that goes, but we'll talk about that. So Betty is saying, I think Cheryl is secure in her opinion that Christian is against the Catholic Church and religion in general, and therefore easily manipulated by herself and Leland. So do you think that Cheryl is in the hopes that maybe Christian may eventually come over to their side? Do you think that's kind of Cheryl's hope in the end? What do you think, Mom?
I hope not. I hope she don't really think that. Even though Kristen don't believe in the Catholic Church, like they said she abandoned it and everything, but I still think she got that inside.
Yeah.
So, but like you said, you never know. It's a good size.
Yeah. And Vera actually makes a really good point that so is Cheryl going in deep to protect the family, keep your enemies closer? I think there's a little bit of that. I don't think Cheryl really likes Leland. I think we're getting this sense from her trying to go to the boss and getting in close with him and like getting on his good side against Leland and stuff like that. There's definitely Cheryl not being okay with Leland. So I do think she thinks Leland is a frenemy. So I do think that maybe she is watching him enough that maybe I think if he did try to go as far as to do something to Christian, she probably would intervene in some form or fashion. But I do think that's interesting that he just straight up said making them an orphan, and we got no response from Cheryl, that the scene just cut away. I'm like, she's right there. Wouldn't she have a problem with that? Thanks, Josh. Yeah, if you want to like the video or subscribe if you haven't already, that is always appreciated. But I just love hanging out with y'all and everything. So, but it's always appreciated because it helps the algorithm, the evil algorithm, of people being able to get the video. We have to, what's so funny, before this episode I used to say feed the algorithm monster. Didn't I say that about feeding the algorithm monster? I said that because I peeped what the algorithm really is. So Betty saying, I think Cheryl thinks in her current state of mind that she can convince Kristen that her way is the right way. Also, she doesn't trust Leland at all. Yeah, I don't think she trusts Leland at all. And I don't think she I think she believes her daughter is made of strong stuff. So she probably doesn't think Leland is capable of bringing her down anyway. But I did like that little thing of the girls getting him. And I like that they've made it so the girls are capable of that. Because, like I've said this already, but I was very worried that they'd make it so the girls, and that was one of my issues when it comes to kids in shows and movies like this. They usually are made to be, I feel like, the victim or the bait, so that they end up doing stupid things so that change the story, so that the parents or whoever have to try to save them. And that's usually what makes them annoying to me. So I'm really, really enjoying the fact that they've given the girls autonomy and a certain kind of smartness that lets you know that that I like them as characters. I like when we get plots and scenes where it's just the girls. That's totally not the case with me. When I have shows like this or a movie like this and it's just focused on a kid or the kid, I'm like, why are we doing this? And I just think that they've really done a good job of making us believe just how smart these girls are, to the point where you root for them. So I think that's really great. Vera is saying, I was wondering if the teacher that recommended Leland is the same teacher that lived with the crazy single mom. I wonder that too, because she said, I don't think that was for no reason. I think, as we have to remember, and Vera is referring to the crazy single mom in this story, Marie. what's her name, I believe, who was basically trying to, either she was really possessed or she was trying to be possessed for clout, and she was terrorizing her sons in order to live stream and stuff. And one of the things they had said was, you used to live with a teacher before, and Marie was like, oh yeah, but I hardly talked to her. And so I thought that was also very interesting, because we know in this show they don't just say things to say things. We know things usually have a connection, and they're not just said for no reason at all. Not to the point where I'm going to read into every single thing that's said, but I do think it's interesting that they had her say, well, she doesn't live here anymore, we hardly talk. And they mentioned that she was a teacher. So you might be onto something, Vera, in the fact that a teacher is vouching for Leland at Lexis's school. And it's like, maybe there's a connection there. So that's a very good point. Also, just a little tidbit. Did anyone else, when they were watching it, notice in the intro that in the bottom, there's words that say, if you skip the intro, you will be haunted?
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I'm on a time crunch, so I skip the intro. And I honestly, when they did that, I played it a little bit longer and then I skipped it. I just thought it was so funny. I was like, that is so, I just love this show. I love how smart, and I've said this before in season 2 and season 1, it's just very clear that the Kings who the wife and husband duo, the Kings who write this show, have so much fun in what they put forth. And it really just comes through in these plot lines and these characters, and even in the intro. So I love that. I love it, love it, love it. So yeah, basically with that plot line of VidTap, which I don't think, do y'all think that this is the last time we're going to hear about VidTap? I honestly don't think this is the last time we're going to hear about VidTap, because I am not completely convinced that there wasn't something supernatural going on. You know what I mean? Do you think, Mom, that this was all done for clout and everyone was just trying to act like they were possessed for the likes, or do you think there was something perhaps possessing them to want to be possessed for likes? Because I don't know. I don't know if it was completely clear. I think with Marie, she might have been somewhat doing it for clout and being kind of mentally unstable, but I don't know if that was the case for all of them.
What, the ones that always called Ben and said they did all that?
No, not the ones that were like messing with him, but just like the fact that you get all these likes from being possessed, and there were a couple
of
them
that ain't make no sense.
And do you think that that's just a coincidence that all these people were just acting possessed for likes, or do you think that there might have been something demonic going on, maybe making them become addicted to the algorithm? Maybe there's a little hint that the algorithm is something supernatural and deadly. Or do you think it was just straight up about the clout?
I think it was about the clout.
Okay, so you're leaning towards it not being supernatural at all and them just doing stuff. Okay, let us know in the chat, y'all. What do y'all think? I just think it's a really interesting plot line, the idea of the algorithm. I thought it was very creepy that what David was seeing on VidTap and what Kristen was seeing on VidTap was very specific to them. Like eerily specific, like the whole thing about the board and then the girls writing the things on the board, the whole thing about the margarita, because, Kristen does that. That was very, very specific. And the same thing with David. Like 1 minute it's like, I have, thoughts and things like that too. Like he said, going towards suicidal preach. Now, one could argue, and I've had that feeling before too, and maybe that's what they were playing on, how creepy the algorithm can actually feel. Because there have been times where Michael and I are talking about something, and then somehow I see a commercial about it, an ad about it on YouTube. And I'm like, or a little ad about it on Instagram. And I'm like, how did they know I was talking about that? I'll talk to them about a jacket, and then suddenly I'm getting an advertisement on Instagram about a jacket. And yes, so Betty, I do think there was a thing that told people at some point to turn your phone's audio off because they can listen in on you. Now, Facebook claimed they actually don't listen in on you, and they only listen when you have the app open. The fact that they listen to you at all is kind of a weird thing, in my opinion, but they're trying to claim they only do it when the app is open. But I'm thinking to myself, why are you listening at all if I'm not using the mic? What's going on here, right? Now, what they also claimed was, oh, it's just a coincidence. You probably Googled what you talked about and didn't remember, and that's why it's coming up now, because Google also, of course, like Gmail and everything, takes your data. So it takes in what you search for and things like that, and then shows you advertisement based off of what it thinks. And we've kind of accepted all of that in our society because we want the free emails, we want the free social media without having to pay to use it. But I have at times been very creeped out when I've been talking about something and then an ad pops up about it. So maybe that's what the episode was kind of playing on. That
I lost you, baby.
What's happening, Kristen?
Ooh, you're freezing. Okay.
Hey, lady. Sorry.
Okay.
I had to kick this off for a second. We're back. We're back.
Okay.
But, you know, maybe there's a little bit of a play on how creepy that feels, right? And the fact that we are creeped out, and it's not even anything supernatural, it's just kind of amoral technology playing with us to try to listen in on us to sell us a coat or something. It might seem supernatural, like, why is it showing me that stuff? Speaking of which, Felix is putting out there, I want to see the bid tap lady again. She should be with Ben. I really enjoyed their dynamic. Ben loves his geeky girls, and she was very cute. And I did think they had chemistry. I love that Ben, you know, you kind of have the David and Kristen situation of will they, won't they? And then on the other side of that, you have the situation with Ben kind of being a bachelor and trying to figure stuff out. Now, it's kind of weird because we never found out what my mom said Ben's a hoe, but we never found out what happened to Ben's ex-girlfriend, I guess, and the fact that she was a double or maybe she had a split personality. They never really went deeper into that. Which is kind of crazy to me, and it would be nice to see her again to kind of get a closure on that. Like, where does he stand on that? They loved each other. He told her he loved her back, and then he got too weirded out, and we haven't heard from her since. So it's a little weird, but I did like the chemistry between him and the bid tab lady. I even wrote it down in my notes. I was like, Ben's new love interest? Perhaps I could see it, but I would like closure on his last girlfriend, just to be, you know, clear. So Betty is saying, me screaming into my Facebook app, I want free money. See, they want it. All they're going to do, Betty, is show you ads for working online or something. Get free money by taking this test. That's all it's going to be. It's going to be some scam. That's what they do.
Lord.
Just a whole bunch of scams. So I did peep that too, Felix. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, so I mean, those were kind of the main things that happened. Of course, Andy was a very big revelation.
Yes.
And we peeped that the video was basically the reason why he was always having bad reception and everything like that was because it wasn't really him. Now, did y'all see this coming? Ma, let me know. What do you think about this new twist? Did you see it coming? What are your thoughts?
I figured that really surprised me when they showed him on that table. But I figured that he was going to try to kill him, especially Cheryl. For I figured she was going to try to kill him. That's why they sent that guy to say that he need him now right away. That was so. I figured that was going to happen. But he's not dead yet, like you said. You know, he's not dead. But that's a shame. Damn, Cheryl. That's all I can say about Cheryl. Damn.
Cheryl was definitely cold-blooded with that. I will say, though, he did try to keep her away from her grandchildren and her daughter. He basically said, I don't want you around anymore. And I thought that was a little too bold of him. I was like, you shouldn't have put... I mean, of course, he didn't think that she was in the league with demons and stuff to the point where he would get kidnapped. Of course, that's not what he thought would happen. But even if that's the case, instead of being so hostile, openly hostile towards her, maybe just talk to your wife about it before you try to go at her. Not saying it's his fault. I'm not victim blaming it and saying it's his fault he got kidnapped. But I think he showed his hand too quickly. And then that allowed Cheryl to basically say, okay, you're my enemy now, so I'm going to get rid of you.
Mm-hmm.
What was very interesting about that is that the way I actually said this, I said, I hope Andy isn't dead. So I'm glad they didn't kill him. And the reason why I say that is because I still want closure for him and Kristen. And I think the
Yeah.
girls don't deserve to lose their dad, to
Me
be honest.
too.
I mean, even though I don't want him and Kristen together, because I just think that relationship has has sailed. I definitely think he loves his daughter, so there's no reason why he can't stay around and loving his
Yeah.
daughters. You know what I mean? There's no reason to off him in that regard. Andy's not an unlikable character. That's the thing too. He's not an unlikable character, so I don't necessarily feel that way where they have to kill him off because he's so annoying or something. Not at all. I think he can totally exist on the show, just not necessarily as Kristen's husband, but as the father of her children. So Betty is saying, why wouldn't they just kill Andy? And I think that is also a good question. My feeling of why they didn't kill Andy is exactly because of what happened in the episode, right? Where Leland wasn't sure what the date of the anniversary was and needed to have him around to be able to get that information. Now, what's interesting though is that, as Cheryl pointed out, and I think she points it out in the next episode 7, where while she's giving him a manicure, she's saying, we're gonna tell them that you died saving 3 people, and we'll still give them the money, and you're better to them dead than alive. I thought that was interesting. And, she was saying, here's the rest of your life. Now, it made sense to me of why to keep him alive for the first couple of weeks and stuff for the information. But it seemed like they were hinting that he was going to stay like that for years to come. So it is kind of interesting as to why they would need to keep him alive, like Sabetti just pointed out. I can understand why they're keeping him alive at the moment for moments like that. I don't understand why they would intend to keep him alive past that, though.
Me
so
too.
That's a little interesting to me. Why maybe Cheryl doesn't want to go that far. Maybe that's Cheryl's thing, where she's just like, I don't want to be a murderer, so I'll just keep you alive. So that, and maybe in her twisted mind at this point, that's better than murdering him. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, well, what is the reasoning? And I think maybe it's just the idea of, I don't want to murder you because that'd be too harsh. So I'll just keep you in a vegetative state, but conscious.
Wow.
And so that's not torture in and of itself. Which I would think kind of is worse, maybe. I don't know, but then again, I can't say because I don't know what's on the other side. So I don't want to say that's worse than that, but seems like it would be its own form of torture, right? So, but that was a big revelation. So now we know what has going on with Andy. And my question to y'all is, do y'all think Andy's going to get saved this season? Or do you think he'll be in that state for the foreseeable future? What do you think, Ma?
I hope he gets saved. I was hoping, I was kind of trying to do a scenario where Kristen will try to figure out why her mother's going to really follow her, and then they go up to their apartment or whatever, and she gets in there. That's what I was trying to think of.
So are you hoping that Kristen finally figures out what her mother's been up to?
Yes.
That's your hope?
That's my hope.
I can see that. I definitely can see that.
Wow, I don't think he deserved that much.
Yeah, I don't think he deserves that either. It was very sad. And I was just like, he doesn't deserve that. I mean, I don't particularly want him with Kristen because I think that ship is sailed. But it's not just, I mean, this is a great show where it's not all about who's hooking up with who either. It's a great show where there's individual characters who are just as interesting outside of relationships. So it kind of sucks that, he's in that state. So I kind of hope, but I also wonder how that would work, like maybe Cheryl ends up letting him go or somehow he gets out, but now he knows. Now he knows that
maybe they could.
You think they can wipe his memory?
Yeah. Or he don't remember what happened, something like that. Sometimes I wonder, is there aim? Okay, because we never found out what happened to the woman that when they did that before to her, but we never
saw the doctor from RSBM. Yeah. They had her on the table.
So I don't think they heard from her anymore. They don't know,
Yeah, she wasn't in that room. And that's what was also interesting too, right? And this is where I am a little confused. Now, we saw what was happening to Andy, that it was a way of just keeping people alive in a vegetative state. But we also remember, if y'all remember, Cheryl was also put into that last
Yeah.
season. And so was, like you said, the RSVM doctor that was in charge of Christian's embryo type thing. They were both put in those things. And I'm wondering what happens to them, because we all thought it was like blood transfusion or something that was going on. And I don't really think they've made it completely clear what exactly that is that is happening to them, what is actually being infused in their body. Right now with Andy, it just seems like it's a way of keeping them alive and just keeping them in a vegetative state. But when they were doing it to Cheryl, it seemed like it was some type of transfusion of brown water or something. So I am still confused about that, about exactly what happens with that. Felix is saying Andy will save himself out of the sheer will and Buddhist techniques. He might.
Yeah, he might.
He might be centering himself. They did make it a bit, you might be right with that, because they did make it a big point with his character that he focuses in on stuff like that. So there may be a chance that he might will himself out of whatever they're doing to him, which would be very interesting. Because the question is the jig going to be up for Cheryl and them? Like, when will Kristen find out? Is it when, maybe like Felix is pointing out, that Andy frees himself and tells her your mother kidnapped me? Things like that, so that's a very good point right there. And then also in this episode, we had a little bit of David with evil Kristen, which I thought and it was so funny. She was in the schoolgirl the Catholic schoolgirl costume. I thought that was, and he even looked at her. He was like, "You are so transparent." And I just find it funny that he's having this conversation with her, with the evil Kristen, and the fact that, now they're starting to have conversations with each other. And what evil Kristen says, she's like, "I'm not just a demon. I'm hearing your mind too." So what did you think about that, Ma? Do you think it's a demon, or do you think it's just a manifestation in David's mind, or do you think it's a little bit of both?
I think it's a little bit of both.
What do you think is the end game with that, though? What demon is trying to get in on him? What is it trying to do exactly?
Well, see, that's why I didn't understand when the sister came there and asked David, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, like, what have you allowed to attach to yourself? I thought that was interesting too. Something was sucking on him. Yeah, I don't think at first I thought it was the vid tap demon, but now I'm thinking it looked like a mosquito, right? Didn't it look like a mosquito?
Sucking,
it looked like a mosquito, which I thought was very interesting. It looked like a mosquito. I'm going to show a picture of it. Very, very beautiful. Yeah. So Betty is saying, I think it's a demon. And I think this is a picture of it. I think this demon is the demon that is looking like Kristen. That's what I think it is. I don't think it was the big cat.
Yeah.
And big ups to Sister Andrea for catching it and kicking it out. But then it was funny because David got up and said, "What are you doing?"
What are you doing?
Like, I was sleeping. Yeah. And I did love that he, in the next episode, he actually points out, "How do I get a lock on my door?" Because I think they actually had to address, why is it that everyone just shows up in his room all the time? Like, what is that about? But yeah, so this seems to be, and that demon seems to be something of a mosquito. That to me seems to be the design of this. Something that sucks on,
it was sucking,
on a human. And it's sucking on David. So I'm interested to see where that goes. And now that it's on Sister Andrea's radar, I think it'll be interesting to see if they play on that, if Sister Andrea pushes it with him. So that'll be interesting as well. So, but I kind of like that they have kind of Kristen doing dual parts in sense of good Kristen and bad Kristen. So let's move on to Demon of Cults, right? Because it's kind of, a lot of the plot lines start to connect, except for like the main plot line of the Yeshua cult. So as Demon of Cults, David is being asked by the entity, which I think this is the overarching plot that we get. David is asked by the entity to spy on Lexi. All right, to spy on Lexus. And he refuses, which I was really happy about that he refused. But what we ended up getting was that the entity ended up bringing Kristen in on it, which I was not expecting. I kind of felt like, first I thought they were going to play on a thing where Kristen thought that David was seeing somebody or something like that, and she was thinking some other woman was in the room, and maybe that would be a whole thing. But they went a completely different route, made it so that they opened the door and they explained to her. So we finally got words about what is actually the end game with Lexi. And the idea is that she's being groomed by Leland and the others to be a leader of a demon sigil, a demon kingdom that is actually more higher, one of the higher ones, more high and more of a priority to them than 20 of them. So she's being aimed to be pretty high up there. So I have a few questions from that, right? Does Cheryl know this is what Lexi thing is supposed to be? Is that her understanding? Why Lexi for this in particular? What is the connection that Lexi is the one being picked for this in particular? What do they see in her out of all the other ones that they've had before? Because we know there's other demon spawns out there, right? So I do wonder if Cheryl is aware of that and if she's okay with that. And where do they go from here now that Kristen is aware that David has been dealing with the entity? I also thought it was a very interesting thing that the guy from the entity, the leader of the entity, said, where Kristen was explaining, she was like, I don't believe in all this supernatural stuff. And he said, neither do I. And I thought that was very telling. Because the question is then, if he doesn't believe in the supernatural, what exactly does he think the demon sigil people are doing? Does he think they're just unhinged worshipers of Satan? Or does he actually think there's supernatural things happening? Because I think we can say that there is definitely supernatural things happening. Yeah. And it's kind of weird to me that if the entity is so aware of everything like they are with David and stuff, how do they not see some of the supernatural things happening? Maybe they're not tapped into it like Cheryl and Leland are to see the actual demons, or Sister Andrea. But I did find it interesting. He said he doesn't believe in the supernatural, yet here they are fighting against this hell on earth. So that was interesting. But I do like this turn of events that they brought Kristen in on it. What do you think about that, Mon, that Kristen is now aware?
Yeah, she is, especially when she went and hugged her. She said he smelled like blood.
And that also made her open her eyes, because she was like, how does she? Because the first thing I thought, like, damn, she smells blood? Like, what? Like, she wasn't dipped in it. So it's like, that girl has a very strong nose. And we already remember the whole thing with her teeth. The teeth thing was going on. So, yeah, it's pretty intense there.
Is the girl going to be a vampire?
She's going to be something. Something's developing in her, and maybe that's why she's further high up. But I think it's interesting because now and I feel like, do you think the entity bringing Kristen in on it, despite their kind of way of going about it, does this put points in the fact that maybe they actually are trustworthy? You know, maybe they're not evil. Do you think this? I mean, I'm not saying they're completely trustworthy. I'm not saying that they won't lie to them or something, but I'm saying I think we can say that maybe they're not trying to do anything nefarious, right? Like, they're not Leland in them, even though they have their ways that are covert and kind of cold.
This is what I'm not trying to understand. They got Leland on their radar, radar. But why aren't they doing anything about him?
Yeah, and that's what Kristen asked. She's like, Leland seems to be the problem. Why haven't you gone after him? And I think, what was his answer? Now, I don't know why it slipped my mind. Do you remember what he responded to her with, or why they don't go after Leland? I think they did say he's on our radar. But, I remember. He said that's why they had him working for the church, to keep an eye on him. But I'm like, why not just take him out? I mean, it's clear y'all kill people. Y'all don't have a problem with killing people. Why not kill Leland? It's really weird to me because they clearly killed the other guy that was part of the sigil. Why not kill Leland? You know Leland's part of a sigil. Why not kill him off? And that doesn't make sense to me, because if they know Leland is doing this and they know where he is, why not take him out?
That's
You
what I'm
know,
saying. Because the
and
more
maybe
he's recruiting people. That
yeah,
was strange.
yeah. Felix makes a good point where Sabetti had asked, "How does she know the smell of blood? How does Lexi know it?" And he says she tasted. Felix says she tasted smell blood when she bit her dentist's finger, so she already has a taste for it. And she's special. There's certain specialness to her. What did you think of the Yeshua cult angle, Ma? They mentioned QAnon and all that other stuff. What did you think about that plot line?
I think that was funny. Like I said,
Yeah. But he's a single man. I
I mean,
mean,
oh,
she's
I
single, so
understand
why
that.
not?
I mean, you're here. I'm thinking, okay, they got Ben. Here, I'm thinking bad. Oh, they got Ben. They might kill him or whatever. Ben's in the bed with the woman.
I did think it was a little messy of him because he hooked up with this woman that they were investigating, not necessarily her, but they were investigating.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, you're investigating this situation and you hook up with one of the leaders of the thing you're investigating. It's a little sloppy of them. It was a little sloppy of them. I was like, hold up.
And you got one woman, and you're in there drinking. You're supposed to be like talking to him or whatever, and you know. But
Yeah, he ends up hooking up with the lead who literally says she's a vessel for Jesus, and you still sleep with her?
yeah, but what was that part where did he hear the scream or something? He said, "Okay, that's it." He got ready to put his clothes on.
No, he straight up said, he's like, well, I'll talk to you later. And he was trying to go. He was like, I ain't trying. He's like, well, I'll call you. And he
Because
tried to bounce.
she started speaking in that language, and he like, "Okay, time to go here."
Right?
And he got up to the door. They caught him. He said, "What? No, it's time for the ritual or something like that." He went, "Huh?"
So
That
Betty is
was
saying
fun.
Ben is free and living his best life. Felix is like, Ben is not on the prowl. He's just charming. Very
Mhm.
charming. So
Okay.
charming that he was going to sleep with the woman of a group that they were investigating, which I thought was a little messy. But it's not like David and Kristen haven't done messy stuff either. So I can't blame Ben too much for it. I thought it was interesting. I did feel like it wasn't exactly explained what happened to Owen. Owen Finkel,
Yeah.
the guy that was so-called possessed. That was the one thing that I felt was left open, where the occult intervention dudes or whatever, which it seems like the Yoshua cult wasn't actually that bad. I mean, they're kind of weird. I mean, I don't approve of them killing a goat. The goat doesn't deserve that. I'm not for people hurting animals for the sake of their own stuff. But you know me, I'm not about that life. But other than that, they didn't seem like they were completely dangerous. But it was very weird to me with Owen, where he was clearly possessed, but then
And then
when
when
his
she ran,
girlfriend
yeah,
comes, she breaks him out of it. And they tell her, or she tells them, no, they're killing him. But I'm like, how are they killing him by doing an exorcist? And then
mm,
she goes to him and he said, I'm sorry, I tried, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, tried what? So I don't know. I don't know if that's completely tied up. Do you think I feel like we're going to have to get a call back to that, because that just kind of felt
yeah,
weird.
you have to explain what happened there. I mean, you just left that hanging. He started doing all that, and then she run. They tie her up in the bathroom. Then when they untie her, and she said they kill her, and then when she run to him, he said, he sees her, and then he come back to normal. Don't, and then they just let. They ain't make no sense.
And I
But
wonder if
that's when being called.
And I wonder if it has something to do with her. Maybe it's something where for the demon to stay at bay, he has to stay close to her or something. And when she's away from him, maybe the demon takes over.
Mm.
It could be something like that, because they don't really explain why all of a sudden. Because even David asks, like, "Did your son study Latin?" And they're like, "No." So it's like he's talking like a demon, but when he's close to his girl, he stops. So I don't know. I feel like maybe there's something supernatural going on there, but it's also like,
And the priest
in
stopped
what way?
saying what he was saying when she got to
Well,
him.
because she seemed to be coming out of it. but it was also like, like somebody's pointing out, it was very confusing. I didn't understand. I'm like, is this taken care of now? And how do you explain that? Like, how do you explain that he started turning that way just because he was separated from the group? Like,
That's
what's
what I'm
happening?
saying.
You know?
So maybe that was keeping him from being possessed, being that group.
Maybe being within the group and being with her was keeping him from the possession, and when he was separated, that brought out the possession.
Yeah,
that could be it. And I hope they revisit it, because
I
think that looks like it could be what the case was, but I don't know, if they're just gonna leave it as is. So Betty's asking, did the ritual have anything to do? I don't know. That's what was so confusing to me. I mean, they did the ritual, they started beating themselves with sticks. Maybe it was a connection, but it seemed like he was still possessed when they had ran in, until the girlfriend grabbed him and said she was there for him. So, because she even said they're killing him, and I was like, is he like joined with this demon to the point where he can't be separated or something like that? And they don't. I hope she explains it. That's all I'm saying. I hope the girlfriend explains why that's a thing. Hopefully, because that was very confusing for me.
It was.
And then the other thing, which was very, I'm not happy about it. Leland has stuck his talons in Kirk, our happy-go-lucky psychiatrist.
Kirk just made
I do not like that. I mean,
I don't like that either.
In a way, I kind of in my viewpoint, I kind of blame Sister Andrea a little bit, because maybe if she had given him more mentorship than giving him the pamphlet, Leland wouldn't have been able to help, and maybe Sister Andrea would have been around when Leland came around to tell Kirk to be like, stay away from that guy. But I don't think Sister Andrea dismissed him, but she was just like, this is the way to go about it. And I think he wanted something more sensationalized, right? Because he was going through something. He wanted to feel and experience something. But now he's gone in a darker way. I thought the whole ritual was very funny, with the record player and the cartoon.
Your blood.
And then the hand that was writing through him and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I do worry now that Leland is using Kirk to get to Sister Andrea, because he said cut off all her hair.
Yeah.
And I don't want Kirk to go over to
he don't do that. I hope he don't do that.
I hope he actually tells her about Leland and be like, hey, I think I met a guy who's actually working for the demons here. Something like that, because I want Kirk to stay on the good side. I don't want him to go over to the evil side. I think he's a good neutral character. He's a lovable character, and I would hate for him to get taken advantage of by Leland. And I just hope he's kind of made of stronger stuff to resist, or at least Sister Andrea helped him. She didn't reveal what he has seen. So I hope that in paying her back, he tells her, like, hey, there's a guy who wants me to hurt you somehow. So I'm letting you know that.
It depends. Do he want to write that book or not? Do you see that book? He's been trying to write that book.
What do you think he's going to do? And let me know, chat, what y'all think he's going to end up doing.
I hope he don't do well. He might end up doing it and then snap out, but he want that book.
I just think it's crazy if they end up making him go that route. I'd rather he not. I'd rather they've been doing such a good job in subverting what we think is going to happen. So I'm hoping that they subvert this, and when we think he's going to go over to the dark side, he doesn't. And he kind of joins the ranks, or at least joins in with Sister Andrea or something like that. So I'm hoping we see that, because I like Kirk, and I don't want Leland sticking his claws into him. Okay, so I think that was mostly all of it for this one. A lot of stuff happened. I mean, what will happen to Andy, y'all? I mean,
I hope Andy get out of it. Really do hope that Buddha, whatever he was into, stop his breathing or start his heart, and then he just there and stay until he decides he's coming out. I just feel so bad for him.
I feel bad for him too, because like I said, Andy's not evil. He's not a bad character. They did a good job in not making him some like stereotypical bad husband figure who you want to die anyway. And so I think he could be a great dad to the girls, and I just I don't know. I just feel like it was, I hope he gets out somehow. I don't want him there for 2 seasons laying in a catatonic state. Andy needs to break free. I agree.
I hope he
Sheila
do.
saying the doctor, who the heck takes a sabbatical to write a book with no outline for said book? Yeah, I know. That's a thing too. But he probably just figured it would come to him, and then he hit writer's block. And writer's block is a thing. And when some people really want that fame or that accolade, it's the same thing with VidTap, right? People want the clout. Clout seems to be a big theme this season. People wanting clout and the things they will do for it. So I'm not surprised that we're getting that in this particular situation. I just hope Kirk snaps out of it. Because I like him as a character, so I don't want him going down that route. And I'm not tired of Leland. I'm glad the girls are the ones giving him a run for his money, but at some point the jig's got to be up with him too. And I would just hate for him to be able to manipulate everybody around him the way he does. I love that the girls are falling for it.
They put the actor that played Leland. He have been in 2 good series.
Yeah, he has. He was in
the person with
person of interest and stuff like that. He's a good actor. He's great as Leland. I love Leland in season 1. I thought he was great. I liked him enough in season 2. And I like that they're balancing it out, because I hate that he seems to always trying to get over in the end. So I like that. But I do want more of the challenge. I want more people to stand up to him a little bit. But I do love that Monsignor finally fired him and was like, "Thank you for your time, bye." So he's getting what he's not always winning. So I'm glad they're balancing that out for sure. Well, let's talk about some predictions. We got a season 4 coming. So we'll probably talk at the end of the season, knock on wood, about what we want for season 4 after we see everything that's going on. But do you have any predictions for the next episode? Do you think we'll see more of the Andy situation? Do you think we'll get a call back to this exorcism that happened? Do you think Ben will meet yet another woman and sleep with her?
I don't know about Ben. Ben's another story.
Ben's living his life.
Yeah, but Ben's another story. And for I hope they do I'm kind of curious what we didn't really talk about. What was the toy going to do to the child?
I don't think it was going to do anything. I think it was a listening device.
Oh.
That's what I think it was. Since he said they don't believe in supernatural stuff, I think it was just a listening device so that they could keep tabs on her.
Yeah. But I hope that okay, well, I hope that Kristen find out, ask her daughter some questions. I predict that she probably would start talking to her daughter about the situation and everything, and ask her questions, especially about the blood, how she smelt it and everything. And I predict that I hope that Andy is in a state of whatever, he bring himself out. And I predict that the doctor won't. I really predicting that he won't hurt the sister, because she's gonna see through it first. She'll see it before he try to do it.
Yeah,
that's my predictions.
Those are some really good predictions. You usually don't get predictions, so this is progress in terms of you. I think you have some wishes, and I think they're more wishes than predictions. I think that's what you want to happen. More than
my scenario.
This is what I want to happen.
I want to happen.
Well, for me, and let us know, y'all, in the chat and in the comments what your predictions are for the next couple episodes. I don't think Andy will die this season. I'm not exactly sure he'll get out, though. I don't know if I don't know if he'll get out, but I don't think they'll kill him off this season, because I do think they are gonna at least give us some closure with Kristen and Andy, and I don't think this is the way to do it, by killing him and never seeing him again. But I don't think they're going to be in a rush to bring him back. That's what I do think that they will be keeping him in that state for a while, because it's convenient, right? This lets Kristen be around David, thinking her husband's dead and she's now a widow. So maybe that opens her up a bit more. It's convenient. And then at the most inconvenient time, Andy will probably come back. And then Kristen will have to deal with the fact that her husband wasn't really dead. So that'll probably be a very complicated thing for her, Kristen, and for her, David, and Andy whenever that happens. But I think that's where they're probably heading with that. Um, I think we're going to see more of the plot line, and I like that they're doing it. I think we're going to see more of the plot line between the entity and the demon sigils. Like, what's the end game with that? We see the end game with the entity of how they want to basically take down the demon sigils. But it would be nice to see a little bit more of the inner workings of the demon sigils, not just Leland, but someone else talking about what their plans are, because we don't really get to see that as much. And so I think it would be good to see that a little bit more. That's more of a want than what I think is going to happen, but it's definitely this battle between this good and evil is coming to the forefront more and more. So I think they'll talk about it more and more. Felix is pointing out Ben will be the odd man out because he's not with the entity. Yeah, and the question is, are they going to tell Ben, or are they going to swear Kristen to secrecy as well? And it's always funny. I think it was a callback to the fact that they couldn't remember his name. They did it again. The entity head guy, he was like, "You, David, and she was like, Ben." Like, they never remember. That was the joke in season 1 and 2 where they never remember Ben's name. It was funny. So that's kind of my prediction. I think the only prediction I can really give is that they're not going to kill Andy off completely. I think he's going to be kept that way for the convenient plot of it. But I do think eventually he'll come out because he has to stay around, because that'll be drama for Kristen and David. So that's my thought on that. But y'all, let us know your thoughts yourselves in the comment section and whatnot, and hopefully we'll be able to do I always say it, but hopefully we'll be able to do next week just one episode, but we'll see. Episode 8 for next week, y'all. Sometime that week. We aim for Tuesdays, but sometimes it's Wednesday, sometimes it's Thursday. But we always appreciate you hanging out with us. I am so appreciative of all of you, and I love talking about this with all of you because Evil is a fun show for me. It's such a great, well-written show. I've been thinking of, I know Chucky is coming out. Chucky season 2 is coming out in October. I am aiming to be covering that. And also, I believe American Horror Stories is back out. I'm thinking about doing live streams for those episodes as well. Let me know if y'all are interested in that at all. In the American Horror Stories one, I didn't particularly love the first season of it. I thought majority of the stories were kind of weak, so I'm kind of hesitant to jump back into that because I don't want to watch it and every time just be like, this wasn't very good, this could have been better. I don't like watching shows just to dislike them. So I'm gonna check out the first episode first. I think it's probably like 3 or 4 episodes, and I'm gonna check out the first 2 and see how I'm feeling, and then that'll probably decide whether or not I cover it for this channel. But gotta think about it. Thank you for hanging out with us, Betty. Your input is always appreciative. Same with Felix and Vera and Josh and all of you who came to hang out today. We always appreciate you. And until next time, stay safe out there, y'all. Stay healthy. There's a lot of things going on. A lot of it out of our control. So what I really want to say is enjoy your life. Enjoy your days. Enjoy your moments. And just enjoy yourself and find joy, because I could say stay safe and all this other stuff, but what can you do? So, you know what I mean? Yes, I would be interested in there. Yeah, I think I might, but I'm going to watch the first episode to see where this seems to be heading. Because like I said, I wasn't feeling the first season of this, so we'll see. But okay, y'all. We'll talk to you later. Stay safe.
What you said?